Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. Another hot day here in Maryland. It's the 19th of August. I usually don't give you dates, but why not this time? Monday morning. We just got back from the dentist's office. We were helping our friend who is in her 60s and had her wisdom teeth removed, finally. And she's not in good shape right now. She's upstairs with my wife, and my wife is taking good care of her. They're watching TV right now and ice packs, the whole bit. Anyway, I was reading while I was at the dentist's office comments on my Facebook group, and this one was a doozy. And remember, regardless of what printer you are using, if it's a printer that allows you to, say, modify its cartridges or use other third party refillable type cartridges, really, you're choosing to do this at your own risk. And as weird as that may sound coming from me, I always believe that these types of procedures are not, they're not really intended to be done, although we have figured out ways of making them work. This is specifically about the Pro 100. You may see some CLI 42 cartridges samples right here next to me. This is how the dialogue went. Person modified their cartridges, refilled them, put them in, printed something, and then let it sit for a month. Upon restarting the printer, you see something wrong already there, folks? Yes. Upon restarting the printer and printing something, bingo, they had problems. They had all kinds of blank areas on their prints. Something is obviously not working correctly, is it? Well, he checked the cartridges, and some of them were literally empty, where others were full, the way they were when he originally refilled them. What could possibly be going wrong? So he topped them off again, reset them, put them back in, printed something after the purge cycle, of course, and everything was fine again. Um, I was wondering at that point when I was reading this, what happened to the nozzle check you're supposed to be running? Okay. Well, no, that never came into the picture. So waits another month. Yes, believe it or not. Another month and same problem again. Cartridges are empty. Well, what causes that? Leaks. It's leaking. Your cartridges are now leaking. You modify them and you made them leak. In other words, how can that happen? Well, very easily. I'll show you how. What we have here, this is a sealed, well, they put the original orange cap on it and some tape, and I bought it that way. This has not been modified, okay? I cannot refill this yet. The way that we traditionally do this, we have to remove that factory fill ball. And if you notice, maybe because I'm looking at it backfilled, there's a little protrusion, like a cylindrical protrusion that holds that ball in place. There's a little seat that allows the ball to just kind of float there. It can rotate. It is spherical, okay? It's not a square edge seat. The ball sits there and can actually rotate. You have to scribe around that little indentation, circular indentation. Folks, I'm not going to describe the process here. I have videos that cover that. Precision Colors has multiple videos, very detailed, that show you exactly how to do this, what, correctly, okay, so you do not suffer from these problems. Here, however, I'm going to show you, or at least describe to you, what causes those leaks, okay? So you scribe around, you remove this very tough mylar uh, piece of labeling, only around that opening, folks. Do not remove all of it, just around that opening. And then what I do, something really simple, an eye screw, like the type you use for hanging paintings or pictures on the wall? Remember the old-fashioned ones? You have to tie wire to it. Okay, eye screw. Screw it into that ball, literally. 1 or 2 threads, and pry that ball carefully out. So now you have an empty compartment where the ball used to live. Okay? The plug, however, will not fit because that seat at the bottom is preventing that plug from being inserted. Now, the idea is to simply remove that seat without affecting the original diameter, the internal walls of that opening. Okay? The 5/32 of an inch drill bit fits in there. It's smaller than the actual opening, so it will only drill out that seat. Okay? If you're really rough with your drilling and you affect the diameter of that original opening, your plug will not seal. Okay? You simply want to remove the bottom seat so that the plug can fit all the way through. So we have here, goodness, a CLI yellow. Okay? And here it is. This plug is straight wall. Okay? It is parallel wall. It does not taper. So it goes in, and you notice that it just stops right there. When I force it in, that compresses the side of the plug. And I can just see it protruding beyond the seat right now. Okay, because it compresses the side of the plug, and when it protrudes, it's allowed to then expand again. You get pretty much double, triple seal because you're not only sealing against the top opening, the internal wall, but also beyond the seat that you drilled out. Now, here's the next thing. You're going to then attach either one of these with a rubber band. This is your original, or a third-party type clip that just attaches directly to the cart. No rubber band is required. You're going to then fill it. So fill this chamber here to the top. Let it migrate over to the sponge side. Just let it do its thing. Top it off as needed. Plug it back in. Okay. So then, to test, here it is. This is a secret. To test whether your cartridge seals and also allows ink to flow when required at the correct rate, you do these 2 tests. They're very simple. Not a coffee cup with coffee in it, but an empty paper cup that you don't mind soiling. Hold that under your cartridge. Remove that clip. With the plug in place, you may get 1 drop come out. Think of it as you have a straw, like the kind you drink soda out of, and you fill it up with liquid and you plug with your finger the upper end of the straw. And you can lift that straw out of the liquid and liquid will not drip out. It depends on the diameter of the straw, of course. The minute you let go and unseal that end, all of the liquid pours out. That's what's happening here. This is your thumb, okay? And this is the end of the straw. Follow my analogy? Okay, so here's what happens. With the hole plugged and sealed properly, the cartridge, even though it is full of ink will not drip out. Ink will not leak out. Okay? Ding, you passed your first test. Now we're going to check for ink flow. So we're going to unplug that. Unplug it, and now ink will drip, 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 drip at that rate. Drip, drip, drip. Any slower than that is probably going to cause ink starvation. What will cause a slower drip rate? Well, a sponge that is not properly saturated. Oh my gosh, well, remember, you're not supposed to do this. Okay, so when you choose to refill, okay, when you make that choice, I will reiterate that. You're doing it on your own. You are all on your own, okay? Warranties are out the window. So make sure that you understand that when you choose to do this process, you are delving into the unknown, so to speak, and you just don't know how that cartridge is going to react. Ink flow and the seal, okay? So what this poor person is suffering from right now is the fact that this is not sealing. Remember when I said when you remove it, it just drips, drips, drips? Well, if it's kind of halfway sealing, you'll get away with initial printing because it's not leaking yet. Okay, it's not really leaking to the point where you're gonna empty your cartridge out. You will be able to print perfectly. In fact, if you were to print every hour on the hour after refilling, even with that faulty cartridge, the one that's leaking due to a badly drilled hole, okay, a plug that is no longer sealing properly, you're still going to be able to print. But when you let it sit for a month, well, guess what happens? I don't care how slow the leak is. At some point, this chamber will be empty, and then the sponge will begin to lose whatever level of ink saturation it once had. So in a month, when you try to print again, blank. There's no ink in here. What does no ink do to your printhead when you try to print? It burns that particular channel. Burns it out, damages it completely, and you're going to need a new printhead. So if you have any doubt in your abilities to modify one of these cartridges, any doubt at all, when you consider the fact that you're putting your printhead in danger, okay, let me just give you some numbers here. If you're in the USA, you pay $350 for that Pro 100, you get a $250 rebate card. So net value $100. If you get a pack of paper with it, that's another $49. Call it $50. So your net price comes down to like $50 because you just got $50 worth of paper and a $250 rebate card. Okay? A printhead will cost you nearly as much as more than what you pay for that printer net. So you want to take care of that printhead, okay? You want to use that money that you kind of gain through this transaction to buy good papers and such, and maybe more ink, OEM, okay? But no, you decide to immediately get into refilling, and you rush through the process, not doing it correctly, not taking your time, doing it while the lid is up. And that's not the way you do this, folks. This is something you have to consider carefully, learn how to do it properly, or why don't you just do this? I have a link on my description. I get no money, no kickback from this. I'm just helping out a guy on eBay. He acquires empties, flushes them expertly. And by the way, this is an original yellow one that I flushed. Okay? What a difference, huh? Yes. Get a set of already modified cartridges from him, $60. They come with this clip, guaranteed to work, no leaks, no fuss, no mess. You don't have to worry about ever having to learn this process. From now on, you have to learn how to refill properly. And it's not just as easy as sticking ink in the cartridge. Okay, so yeah, his only option at this point, replace those cartridges. Think twice about modifying them the next time, okay? If you choose to stay with OEM and you're not, unhappy about paying $115 for a full ink set, you'll be guaranteed perfect results, perfect performance every single time. Believe me. You would have to really mess up badly one way or another to cause a problem when using unadulterated OEM cartridges. Yeah, so that is it. Be aware that when you choose to go this route, there's some pitfalls involved in the process. So it took me a while to learn, and now I got it pretty down pat. And that doesn't mean I'm going to start a business doing this for people. Okay, it's just I don't have the time for this. So I link you up to my good friend Rick, who does this for a side business, and he has again figured out a way to do it expertly and perfectly and reliably and consistently. Yes. So consider doing that. That will solve all your problems when it comes to refilling the Pro 100. All right. Thank you so much. I hope this kind of cleared up, what could happen. Again, there's a lot of things that could possibly happen. So thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Happy printing, everybody. Bye bye.